but
You're cool.
I didn't know. Yeah. No one said anything. I'm creaming up right now, putting my lotion on.
I was mid sip. I wasn't going to be talking.
Oh my God. Also, don't ever say you're creaming up. That's crazy.
That was wild.
You
I was
kick
going to
yourself,
accept
Joel.
It's lotion. It's my lotion.
I was just going to accept it, but that was wild.
Take two.
Anyway, this is actually our first show of the, as what I'm calling it, six divisions, 6 weeks NBA preview show, starting with the Northwest Division.
My least favorite division.
Hey man, well now you can talk shit about all 5 of those teams at your leisure. No one here to defend them, trust me.
No arguments, man. You're good.
Now, if we have any viewers that have anything to say, please comment below and send all your emails or DMs straight to Didge. Yeah. Send them come at Didge. If you have any problems, please see him in the streets if you need to.
Do not see me in the streets. No, don't put that out there. What was that? Hold up.
Yo, someone trying to fight Didge over his basketball opinion is wild, Joel.
Someone squares up like, bro, you're Portland, bro. Oh shit, Portland come deep. All right, so I think we're gonna end up starting with Denver. If someone can pull that up, please. Denver.
Is our eye in the sky still here?
Yeah, he just, he's not going to be talking basketball, so he just removed himself. But he's
fair.
There you go. Denver Nuggets. So this is just, again, let me explain what you're looking at real quick. This is the projected starters are just my guess of who will probably be starting next year. The bench is it's not the full bench, but it is primarily who I think will get the most run off the bench next year, if they're fully healthy, of course. The key losses are players that used to be on the team, no longer with the team. They were there last year, part of the rotation in some capacity at some point. And key additions is the opposite. They're the new additions who will probably get some playing time and hopefully help them do whatever they got to do. And in Denver's case, already starting, their rookie already hurt, unfortunately. So we'll see. Yeah, no, it sucks.
Shout out Leo. Tragic.
I like him too, so we'll see what happens. But let's start it off. So the Denver Nuggets, as of right now, the starters I have are Jamal Murray, Christian Brown. I know it looks like Braun, but I believe he pronounces it Brown.
Especially knowing somebody with that last name.
I know. I was I always pronounced it Braun, but I remember watching the broadcast and it's Brown. I'm like, really? He whatever, fine, whatever. Michael Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon, and Nikola Jokic. It's probably going to end up being Russell as the sixth man, but we'll see. This is his first year with this team.
It has to be.
Look at the rest of that bench. But,
I'm like, he has to be.
y'all just not gonna put no respect on Sarge?
Well, Sarge.
If Sarge is your sixth man, enjoy never going to the finals again. I don't know who we thought that guy was.
Is I think a useful tool if they use him correctly.
Joel just called that man a hoe. You're a hoe, Dario. You're a useful tool.
Well, I will say Dario was a nice pickup for them. I think Dario can play more. He could play the power forward. He can play some center, even though it's more of a stretch forward overall. Peyton Watson, definitely a guy they like to use off the benches. They're like that big wing, Mm-hmm. And Vlado Konkar, he was out all of last year. He was hurt. But he was before that, the year before, last couple of years, he's actually got some burn with the team. So I expect him to get back on track now that he's healthy again. They they do have other guys that I might like. Julian Strother, he's not mentioned here, but I has a guy I think might get some burn. DeAndre Jordan gets some minutes, of course, once in a while. Zeke Najee's another guy, but for the most part, that's more or less what I expect from their bench. They've lost the key piece. KCP is gone. That's a big part of this team overall. That's a big loss. The biggest loss, obviously, Reggie Jackson is a loss because he was their backup point guard last year. That's what Holiday was again. It was a nice versatile wing they use once in a while, but not as big a loss as KCP or even Reggie Jackson. So that hurts. Considering look at that bench looks kind of shaky at best at the moment. Even though they did bring him Russ, that was weird. That the whole apparently Jokic wanted Russ on the team, so cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, I mean at least he got what he wanted, and then Russ got there, and we'll see. I mean, I could definitely see lineups with Murray and Westbrook in there at the same time. That'd be interesting. Overall, what do you guys think?
I wouldn't suggest that.
I mean, they're gonna have no choice.
I'm just saying. No. I'm just saying for shooting purposes, like that really, really kind of handicaps you. But they both can attack the basket really well. I think Jamal Murray, in my opinion, is a better mid-range shooter than he is a three-point shooter. I'm not the stats guy, but just watching this game, he seems more efficient driving and shooting mid-range.
Hold on 1 second.
But I will say, Didge, I want to ask you this, Didge, and this is a serious question, not to be funny at all. What was the Bucks' biggest issue the year after winning a championship?
Health.
So it wasn't the hangover. It wasn't losing key pieces. It was just health.
I truly do think that we could have at least went back if we were just healthy.
Okay. So I asked that because I believe, in my opinion, the Denver Nuggets' biggest issue is you got to the finals, and no one can discredit how they got to the finals and what they did once they got there. But I think their problem going forward is that no one in that starting lineup, not named Jokic, has the ability to take it a step up, right? Jamal Murray is kind of like, I don't see Jamal Murray having an all-star year this year. I don't see Gordon having an all-star year this year. So I'm like, I think the reason why it seems like they're stuck is that no one's game seemingly is going to evolve to take this team further. So then you start thinking, well, do you maybe, while the stock is high, try to maybe package Gordon and Porter to get a really big piece to put in with this team? Because I don't see the Timberwolves getting worse. I don't see the Dallas Mavericks getting worse. I don't see Phoenix getting worse. Denver Nuggets will always beat the Lakers, so that's not even a conversation to have. So that's my biggest issue with this team is that who outside of Jokic, who I also sometimes believe doesn't make major leaps, he makes strides, and the whole NBA world just goes crazy for it. Who will step up for this team that not named Jokic that will really explode to where they can put this team in the next gear? Because as much as people like to say it was the championship hangover, I don't think so. I think you just got the all-time best out of everybody on this team that year. And now it's kind of just like, well, you need to take another step forward. And I don't think anyone outside of Jokic possesses that.
I'm going to disagree. Jamal Murray did play his best game last year. He didn't play enough games, obviously. I think he played 60 max.
He played 59.
Okay, 60 max. There we go. So I do think that he could probably I think him and Jokic are sort of what takes them to their greatest heights and their lowest lows. But I also think everybody else in the West got better, and in comparison, they didn't. Like I feel like a lot of teams in the West made leaps and bounds, and they kind of stayed stagnant. Mm-hmm. And I feel like it's not necessarily because they can't. I think they thought that the gap was larger than it was. You know, they tried to keep the core together mostly. Obviously, you had a big loss with KCP, but for the most part, their core was probably, Jokic, Jamal Murray, and Porter, I would say. That's probably like the three that they wanted to make sure to keep together. And I think they thought that was enough to take them again to the finals. But from what we saw last year and probably again this year, the other teams around them made moves to literally get better. And that gap is a lot smaller than I think that they thought it was in 2021 or 2022, 2023.
So my question to you is, in your opinion, who takes it up? If you're saying Jamal Murray's best year was last year, right? We know Jokic is. We know what he is.
Yeah, Jokic is going to be Jokic.
Who else steps up to give them a? And when I say big three, I don't mean big three in a way of Bron, Wade, Bosh, but their own big three. Right. Who steps up into that third role that excels them to get back to where they need to be?
I mean, if we're just going off the people who we're saying are already their biggest core, it'd have to be Michael Porter. Like, if this is what his fifth year?
Fifth year.
Like
Fifth year, I think.
So, okay. So I just pulled up his stats. So he was, not a huge points guy. 16, 7, and about 2 assists. Or really 16 and 7. So if he ups that to a 20-9 or 20-8, 21-22, I think Murray's at 21-22-ish itself. That takes some of the load off of Jokic, where I think that's sort of the issue right now. They know if we can take Jokic out of his game, we don't believe that anybody else around him can beat us.
100%. That's what the Timberwolves essentially did.
Yeah.
Timberwolves are kind of just like, all right, if we can try to double up Jokic, who else is going to go get it for you? And they struggled.
There were games where Murray did. Murray had a lot of it.
For sure.
So that's what I'm saying. If you're looking at anybody this year, I think Murray at the very least will be where he's at. And I know he wasn't an All-Star last year, but All-Star is kind of also. I don't know if
he's consistently a borderline All-Star.
Well,
he has to
only
be
reason,
an All-Star.
Only reason to measure it by All-Star Didge is because if you're playing well enough to be looked at as one of the best point guards in the league, then your team should be exactly where you need them to be. Now, whether a team is just better than you, that's nothing you can control. But if you're playing all-star level basketball,
right,
you're exactly where you need to be. You know what I'm saying? So that's the only reason why I put all-star next to his name, because I think he can be, but what will he do to put himself there? You know what I'm saying? Can he kick it up another notch to get himself into the actual all-star game?
I still feel like it's probably on Porter over Murray. Murray's getting you because Murray has games like we said where he absolutely took over in the end that got them those victories. Porter is sort of still kind of the loose like, well, maybe is he or is he not? Right. And we're also not going to act like that Minnesota series didn't go 7.
Oh yeah, no, they didn't blow him out.
Game 6 was a terrible loss. I get it. So that's where I think a lot of the like, oh my God, did they lose it? Is coming from that hangover from Game 6. That was a terrible loss. I completely understand that. But this did still go 7. The reason why there wasn't Game 6 was because that series was about to be over. So I think rumors of their demise are kind of early. The West is a lot closer than I think anybody thought. Why I probably, and I don't know if we're going to get to the point where we're predicting who comes out of the West or not, why I probably won't pick them. I'll go early about it, is because I do think other teams around them got leaps and bounds better where they got marginally. I'm not even going to say better. I don't know if I can consider Russ an improvement off losing Pope and Jackson.
I think he's an improvement off losing Jackson, but not losing Pope. Pope is
that's what I'm saying. Like those are two big losses,
right?
And I don't know if the inclusion of Russ is enough to mitigate that.
Offsets, yeah, no. Right. And unfortunately, just
not at all. But
especially shooting wise,
but Russ can go get them a lot of buckets off that.
He can for sure.
He really can, especially if he plays smart and does a lot of cutting with Jokic. A lot of cutting to the basket, a lot of mid-range spots where he's maybe picking and popping, Jokic pops, right? And then Russ can kind of, pivot off to the side, a lot of screen work. There's a lot of things they can do with Russ, But I would say, Didge, my biggest issue is I see Anthony Edwards getting better. I see Phoenix figuring it out. I see Luka and Kyrie another year together and improving that roster with Klay Thompson. I see teams like that figuring it out to where it just makes it. I'm not saying it like, oh, Denver Nuggets were like the Pistons, one and done. No. But I'm saying I don't think that Murray and Jokic are enough anymore. That
I think one of those teams you named is not like the other, but we'll get to that. We'll get to that.
Assume the Mavericks. I'm gonna assume the Mavericks.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that division.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, I think my biggest issue with what you were breaking down with Porter, Didge, is I've never looked at Porter as being able to go another level. I've looked at Porter as what he's been is kind of just what he is. I've always thought that third guy was Gordon. I always thought Gordon had the potential to take it a step up, right? Because to me, there's no reason why Gordon should not be in the same conversation as Karl Anthony Towns. Not as far as shooting, obviously, but as far as what he can do on that court. I think his game is very not equal to Cat, because Cat obviously has the edge over him shooting-wise. But I definitely thought Aaron Gordon, from what he did in Orlando, and then obviously what he turned into that year they went to the championship, I think Gordon has the other gear to go over Porter. I think Porter's just your 3-and-D guy. You know, what you get is kind of all you're going to get. I don't think he can evolve. I don't think he can become Charizard.
That's interesting to me because I think Gordon peaked.
I agree.
2018? What was the year he got most improved?
I think if you're trying to say he peaked, you're going to have to give him that year they went to the championship. That man stepped up big time that season for that team.
He did.
Defensively, specifically.
He did, but sure, if we give him that year, then he's still on the downturn. No matter what, we're saying his best year was behind him. So
yeah.
I think Porter, because I would give him the 3 versus Gordon, just because Porter is still young. Gordon's probably close to 30.
I don't think he's 30 yet. Yeah, I think he should be right around Julius Randle, and Brunson. That's 28, 29.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's close to 30. Regardless, that's still 10, 11 years in the league.
Yeah.
He was 28 last season, so he might be 29 now.
Okay. So at least 10 years in the league, probably.
Yeah, and Porter's 25. So
I feel like
Didge
that's going to be your.
Also, remember this: Porter has age, but you know what Gordon has over Porter? Availability. That's like, you could be young, but with all those injuries, you kind of start playing like you are the age of Aaron Gordon. So
but that's also
Michael Porter played 81 games last year.
Michael Porter played 81 last year?
Yeah.
Oh,
I thought you said he played 60.
That was Jamal Murray.
That was Murray, yeah.
Oh, Murray. Got you.
That's what I was gonna say. Like, if I didn't know Porter's numbers, so I was gonna say that's sort of the Nuggets as a whole, then, because we knew Jamal Murray doesn't play a lot. Hopefully, this year he can stay healthy.
Right. Gordon played 73.
Okay.
So availability was there.
I guess what we're saying, Didge, we're saying the same thing. We're saying the third needs to step up.
Someone needs to step up.
For sure.
Yeah, we're just differing on who that third is. So I mean, it's gonna be fun to see, right? Because
it won't be fun to see. The Nuggets play boring basketball. They're the new age Spurs. Let's not lie to people. I mean, it's not going to be fun.
True. That is not true.
Jokic is like a walking circus.
Jokic is the most boring player in the league.
It's just someone like that doing what he does so easily.
He's great. Don't get me wrong. He's great.
It's kind of remarkable to watch. Like,
but
he doesn't even
Jokic is the most boring player to watch. But that year they made that run to the finals, watching Murray, Porter go turn into a flamethrower, Gordon playing great defense. Like, they were fun to watch. I give you Jokic. Jokic is very boring, but
Jokic,
the rest of them, I
team,
enjoy watching Murray.
They all slow up for Jokic.
Yeah.
They do. That's the problem. Not the problem, but that's the sad part, is that they have to slow You know what I'm saying? You know what's so crazy? You would think they would use Jokic the way Spurs used Duncan. Only problem is Duncan was a cog in the wheel, a very important cog, but he never necessarily slowed the offense down. They moved fast with him. Problem with Jokic is his game sometimes weirdly is ISO. And it's like, that's really weird, especially for a player that I don't think dominates backing down. I think Jokic very much is just a mid-range assassin, right? He's for a big man, and you're just like...
threat. He's the master. Why? He's a point center. He's like the most rarest thing in the world. He runs the game.
Well, I mean, I think you can. I think you can say maybe in the history of basketball, you'd have to look at LeBron, Magic, and then Jokic, right? It's like guys that you can kind of look at and go, they can really play any position, right? And the way their game is tailored.
Jokic can't play shooting guard. He's too short. Or not short, but he's too slow.
Man can
Jokic shooting guard though. Imagine him trying to run the court. That's gonna lose the 24-second clock right there.
You are not wrong, but tell you what, once you kick it out to him, that man can shoot. That man
he has to be a catch and shoot. Okay.
No, he's not defending shooting guard.
No, okay, you know what, Didge? I'll give you that. The only position he can't play is the two. Only position he can't play.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'll give you every other position, but you know that too. He not getting like Joel said. He not getting out there and defending.
No, but you wouldn't want him to, knowing that he's your leader in assists, rebounds, and points. Right? You can kind of let him off. Let him off easy there. Like, all right, you don't need to do everything. Okay, defense not your thing. We get it. But Joel, where do you stand here? So I went Gordon. Didge went Porter. Who are you going with as the piece that you see stepping up the most?
Because I think they took such a hit with KCP, and that's more of a glue guy that they lost, not a star, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you know what? I think that's relative. I think you could say for what he was to that offense, he was a star for that offense, but not a star in the league.
He was a starter.
No, because I mean, we were just talking about his importance, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, you're going to see the glaring difference next season of his absence.
Yeah, I get it.
You know what I'm saying?
He averaged like 10, 2, and 2 is what I'm saying. Wow, you need someone else. Who's going to be the
second? That's not a star. Yeah, I get what you mean.
You know what I mean? Like, who
just
can
help
Jokic out? Yeah, because again, he's a glue guy. He's great. He was almost the best 3-and-D guy one of the best 3-and-D guys in the league, right? Because he could do both, and he fit that offense perfectly, right? He really was at the end of the day one of the missing pieces, like or Aaron Gordon ended up becoming. But I think it's like I said, Jamal Murray has been like a borderline all-star every year. He just can't seem to get over the hump because the Western Conference is tough. There's a lot of good players, a lot of good guards in the West, and he just seems to be just under. And if Jamal Murray, even at times we've seen it in the playoffs where he can just go off, and it's just
especially if they're playing the Lakers,
especially if it's Laker time. It's like he sees red. Or purple and gold in this case. But it's just like if he could just do that the whole season, then they might be able to get over that hump. Because obviously it doesn't really. Once you get to the postseason, that's all that really matters at the end of the day. He fell off after that Laker series. It's like I don't know what happened there. He's done it before. He's been a good player. He's dealt with injury the last couple of years. He got even last year he dealt with injury. It's just weird. He's kind of been up and down. Hasn't been exactly the same guy since those injuries. So it's really a balance. He's right there. Like he averaged like 21, 6, and 4 last year, which is not bad. That's pretty damn good, right? His percent, like he hit 42 from 3. He was 51 from 2. Those are decent. Those are good percentages, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like the man's still doing his part at the end of the day. But he just may have to do just a slightly bit more. The third guy I think has to be Porter Jr. because I think he is expected to be he could shoot. Like he's a really good shooter. He's like you said, he's a 3. He's now going to have to take the place of what KCP was on offense, and he should be able to do it defense. With the money they're paying him, he should be able to do both. Especially if you're the third guy, you don't have the luxury not defending. You know what I mean? So like you got to be able to do both at some point. So Michael Porter Jr. to me, I have to expect more because like you're younger. I expected more out of you. Now he averaged 16 and 7 last year.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, so yeah, basically almost 17. His percentages are good though. 57 from 2, 48 from not from the field. I'm sorry, that's almost 40% from 3. That's what he was averaging. So like, that's not bad. Maybe he'll get more touches now with less people around. He got 13 field goal attempts a game. Maybe that gets a little bit of a boost. Which is he was already third in field goal attempts on the team, so maybe he'll just get a little bit more. So Michael Porter Jr. is that third guy. If he can get at least close to 20, maybe not 20 exactly, because you got Jokic, you got Murray, who are probably going to take more shots and demand more touches. And then Gordon is basically the main blue guy now. And then of course,
I don't know much about Christian Brown, so that's why.
I mean, he's a good hustle guy, but again, I don't know, where did he average in minutes wise last year? I know he was a big piece of that bench.
Let me look.
He's 22. He played the whole season. 20 minutes a game. He averaged
7 points.
7, 3, and 1 basically.
Yeah. To your question, DJV.
Football is definitely DJV, going on.
It is football season, but basketball starts next month, so we're leading up to basketball.
Yeah, so this is the first week. We're doing 6 divisions in 6 weeks. So by the time we get to the last week, we'll be the week before the NBA season starts. That was the plan. So you'll be right in time. We'll have the last show will lead up right into the beginning of the season. So that should be fun. That's what we're doing. It's a basketball. It's an NBA preview. Football just started last week, so last Sunday, technically Thursday, but you know what I mean. Anyway, Christian Brown, that's another guy he's the 5th guy. He's the new starter, right? He's taking KCP's spot.
Yeah,
he's gonna get his touches.
Where is he out of? Let's see.
Or like what college?
Yeah, they don't even have it on here.
Oh man, I think it was fuck, I have the jersey in my head and I can't remember.
I'm gonna assume he's from Kansas, so I'm gonna
assume. Yes, Jayhawks. I think he's a Jayhawk.
Okay. I was gonna say I'm gonna assume he went to Kansas since he's from there.
I think he was. I think he nailed it. So that's where he was a big part of that championship run, even though he was off the bench. I mean, he was a key part of that. He was like one of the main guys off the bench that year for them, his rookie year. And that was a rookie.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
So
he had a good year because Kansas won national championship that year.
Oh, what a lucky bastard! so he's a winner in life. He won in his first year in the NBA, one year before that. So in college. So look, this guy's if he really is the starter going into the season, I think he's another guy that has to take another step for them to stay relevant. Because like you were saying, Juwaan, like the West is tough, man. Denver on paper it doesn't look like they made enough of a stride to keep up. They really don't.
I agree.
I think obviously they're facing the issues of the new CBA agreement. But I think they're also facing the idea of you got a multi-time MVP, right? So you kind of feel like if you keep the core and your MVP gets better, like according to the voters he has been, you kind of feel like you're always in it. Like Didge said, it went 7 games. It's not like they got swept in the first round and bounced out. So it's not like you're that far. You just need one of these 3 guys in your starting lineup to be that one that just turns into Wiggins that 1 year with Golden State. Like, that's all you need. And you're good. You just hope he doesn't stay Wiggins. But if he can unlock that Wiggins of that 1 year they won a couple years ago with Golden State, you're good.
Yeah.
You're good. That's really all you need. We're not talking about this team needs to rebuild. You just need to tweak it. You just need to tweak it a little bit.
I mean, this might be the year where they look at it and they go, "Look, maybe we do have to package certain people to get something better."
I'm just saying you might have to. I mean, look, Didge, and again, I'm not trying to skip ahead, but Didge, you guys did that, right? You tried to keep going with what you had, right? And then you said, you know what? We need to make a drastic change, right? Yeah. And you know what I'm saying? Again, it was year 1, so no one's gonna hold you to that, but. Again, that was a move you guys thought was necessary. Right. I don't think Denver is above it. You know what I'm saying? I
for sure think they'll be buyers at the trade deadline.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. That is interesting. That is really interesting because it'll be interesting to see, are they buyers because they're out trying to get back in? or are they buyers because they're in, but they need that next piece to take them overboard? You know what I'm saying? So you saying they'll be buyers. I was thinking more so they'll be buyers after the season. Like they'll give it another run, see what they can do.
No, I feel like any team that's inside the playoff push, like who they really have aspirations, like we got this year. Mm-hmm. I feel like they're always buyers. Now, whether or not they're aggressively buying, so you're hearing about so many offers that they put out, or they're just keeping their eyes on the streets. Like, okay, we hear who's not happy where they are, or who's looking for a new situation. Mm-hmm. And so I think for sure I could see them being buyers. Now we'll see how aggressive they are considering the beginning of their schedule. I was looking at it earlier. It didn't look like too tough of a beginning schedule. Mm-hmm. But obviously this is all based off of what we know from last year. I think I definitely can see them wanting to make a push. Like if Michael Porter or Aaron Gordon or even Christian Brown aren't doing what we thought that they needed to do to get them that championship. Trade deadline is usually around the time where you kind of got a feel of like, we know if we're serious contenders or not. And if we feel like we're just one piece away, that's when we're making that piece.
That's going to be real interesting. Last thing I'll say before we move to the next thing. That's what's going to be super interesting, Didge and Joel, is if you're buyers, right, and you have to sell one of Porter or Gordon or both, it means they're not elevated. One of them isn't elevated, right? Because there's no way they're playing well and then you want to move them, right? Because you kind of don't mess it up when you're hot. But if you're not hot, if they're not playing well, what is their value? You know what I'm saying? What becomes their value for you to make a significant enough trade to get?
They could still be playing well. They could be playing decent, and it's like this just ain't enough.
Oh yeah, decent at that point. Yeah. I was looking at it more so as like I don't see this team at any point of this season being outside of the top 5.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Barring injury, I can see that.
So I'm like, if you're in the top 5, how bad is one of those two players playing that you're like, all right, yeah, you got
somebody fell off.
Yeah, you got to go.
Come on, Murray, look at Canada. Come on,
right.
That was tragic.
Hey man, we appreciate that. That man had no pride for his country, none whatsoever.
Rough life.
Couldn't be us. You know what I'm saying? No. Couldn't be us. We don't know what that's like.
Oh shit. Anyway, let's move on to the next team.
Yeah, I didn't expect it to take 30 minutes on the team. That was crazy.
Yeah, we got a lot of stuff off our chest for Denver. The Minnesota Timberwolves are next up on the lineup.
We call Joe Ingles a key addition. All right.
Yeah, I mean, one of
I'm sorry, that was rude.
I say it's an addition more than a key addition. But Joe Ingles has been useful in the past, so I figured I'd add him. Projected starters, at least the ones I have in my head, and these are the same starters from last year. Mike Conley, Anthony Edwards, Jaden McDaniels, Carl-Anthony Towns, Rudy Gobert. Your bench made up of Nasri, Nikhil Alexander Walker, Joe Ingles, new addition, Rob Dillingham, the rookie, and PJ Dozier. And you have key losses like Kyle Anderson, who's been with the team for a while now. They picked up Monte Morris from
Slow-mo.
And Jordan McLaughlin, two of their point guards from last year who didn't, unfortunately wasn't enough. And then the core keys additions, they picked up Joe was on the Magic last year. PJ, who was overseas. And drafted Rob Dillingham and Terrence Shannon Jr. We'll see how well they are for them off the bench. I do expect something from Rob. We'll see if Terrence gets in the rotation. But overall, what do you guys think of Minnesota going into the new season?
Minnesota rises and falls with Anthony Edwards. That's literally all we need. This is the only person we need to talk about with Minnesota. Amen. If we're being honest. If he takes the next step after what he did this past year, Minnesota's right back where they were, probably better. If he comes down to earth, and I'm be honest, I kind of don't see that way, especially after the Olympics. But if by some reason he comes down to earth, Minnesota comes down to earth. I think that's literally all you need to talk about with the Timberwolves. Is Anthony Edwards going to continue this meteoric rise that he's on? And I'm going to be honest, I think yes. I think Minnesota's going to be strong this year because I think Ant he's going to learn from what that loss was last year. Like, right. I think he's going to come back hungry, knowing what happened, playing in the Olympics with everybody who he played with, sort of learning a little bit more about just the game itself, how to win, how to deal with this type of competition. It's only going to make them better. And they didn't really yes, they had key losses, but in terms of what some really big key losses are, they kind of kept their core together for sure.
No. Their core was always their starting lineup.
Right.
I'm going to keep this very short. I don't disagree with anything Didge said, but I think Didge is leaving one thing out, is no matter how transcendent Anthony Edwards becomes, he needs his running mate to start to try to rise with him. Karl Anthony Towns does need to become more consistent in the postseason. I do believe this is a make or break year for either Karl Anthony Towns or Rudy Gobert. I think if you can't get any further and Anthony Edwards is playing transcendent basketball, you have to start looking at Karl Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert as the most expensive anchors you could ever buy, right? Like, like think of the most luxurious yacht or boat or whatever. Whatever that anchor is nowhere near as expensive as Karl Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert. So I do think if you're the Timberwolves, you're gonna have to start making those kind of decisions, right? Because I think they're weighing Anthony Edwards down as opposed to helping make him better. And I'm not saying it like Cat is trash or anything, but it just feels like he never elevates in the postseason. And last year I thought was a perfect time with everyone eyes on Anthony Edwards, focused down on you. You're not being looked at. That's the time for you to really go off. And I just kind of felt like he's never really excelled in the postseason. So I do think that's one of the most important conversations to start being had now is this the last year of the Karl Anthony Towns, Anthony Edwards, or Rudy Gobert adjacent pairing before that team has to start making a decision on one, if not both of those guys?
I mean, that's not a bad take considering they didn't make any massive changes to the rotation, right? Look at their additions. Like, you know what I mean? What they did, they drafted people. Ingles and Dozier, they're fine. But
they're just glue guys.
Yeah, they're just their bodies that can play.
That's a better term. Yeah, bodies.
Yeah, their bodies. That Joe Ingles is a decent player. So I mean, I remember Pete Dozier even when he was in Denver. He was decent there, you know.
Right.
So like they're good, but like the guys off the bench that you're really leaning on, Naz Reid and Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who I mean, Nick Naz was 6th man of the year, right? So
yeah.
I mean, those two guys are pretty decent, like really good coming off the bench for you. You might want to add a better third option off the bench, maybe another shooter, maybe a veteran point guard or something to help because you got Mike already. Maybe a younger point. They got Rob Dillingham, so they drafted. So that's their thing. Their future is hopefully Rob because Mike is he's getting older now. At some point he's gonna retire and move on. And it's coming. So his window is closing, right? And like you said, the thing with Karl and Rudy, they might just have this next year together before they decide to maybe break that up because what are you doing if it's not working as is? And it looked pretty good last year until the very end. It's one of those things where just start Nas and like get rid of one of the other ones and fill up your bench. You know what I mean? Something like that. You know, that's
yeah.
I mean, for what you – I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say quick. They're a team, like we talked about Denver. I was saying I think that they will be buyers. Mm-hmm. I don't know for sure if Minnesota will be, but they should be.
I'm going to tell you this. The fact that their starting lineup or team as a whole did not drastically change as much as maybe you think it should have, that lets you know that organization believes the only thing that held them back last year was inexperience. They believe experience will now help them get to where they need to be. But what I think they're forgetting is Rudy Gobert, what you saw of him last year is what you'll see of him this year, right? It's not going to change. Karl Anthony Towns is probably going to have another, not phenomenal, but another great regular season and then probably disappear in the postseason, right? So it then becomes, why drag yourself through another expensive season, right?
Yeah.
No matter what Minnesota's record is, sell Karl Anthony Towns, right? Because you got to keep Rudy. Rudy, you just gave up too much to get. So to ship him out would be like, you lost a lot, dog. You might as well just keep this guy till he retires, right? He's not going to be playing much longer. Cat is the one of the immense value. You got to get rid of Cat so you can fix your bench, right? You can always plug in a fourth guy, right? Now, his productivity is something you're going to have to kind of band together to kind of, replace. But getting rid of him is what you'll be able to do. You'll be able to replace some of that. Another thing I thought they should have maybe went after, that maybe they will at some point, I thought they should have been one of the main teams going after Bojan. And when I say Bojan, I might be mixing him up, but I meant the Bogdanovich that went to Brooklyn.
Yeah, Bojan.
Yes, okay. Is the other one Boban Bogdanovich? What's the other one in it?
Bogdan.
I hate them. I hate all of them. But I just hate the names. I confuse the fuck out of me all the time.
Well, they're the same last name. It's just one's Bogdan, one's Bojan.
And it's crazy. They're not from the same country.
They're not at all. They're not at all. I don't know why it confuses me so much, but it does. But I think they need to go after. They need to go after a guy like that. They need to go after a guy like that, and Brooklyn should be looking to sell. So,
they could definitely pull that off.
Yeah, I'm saying a guy like that over Joe Ingles would do you a lot better.
That's fair.
So
I want to say he's younger than Joe Ingles, but I'm not 100% sure of that.
They look the same age. They both look war torn.
He's been around a while.
Bogdanovich is 32. And let's see, Joe Ingles is probably like damn near 40. I don't know.
He has to be 90. Yeah, man.
He's 36.
Okay. Oh, yeah, it sounds about right.
They're the younger version.
Wait, did I look up the right Bogdanovich?
Okay, I don't think Bogdan is.
No,
Bogdan is like in his 20s for sure.
No, Bogdan. I looked up the wrong Bogdanovich. Bogdan is 32. Bojan is 35.
Oh, so this is a year.
So they are.
Wow. So I take that back. My apologies. But they need a off the bench scorer like that. But last thing I have for this team, I would not be shocked if Jaden McDaniels puts himself in that conversation for Defensive Player of the Year. I thought he played tremendous defense in that Phoenix series. I kind of think there's only but so much defense you can play against Luka and Kyrie, right? So there's so much you can do. And it doesn't really help that, when you're playing against Kyrie and Luka, there aren't other great defensive players on your team. I think Rudy is kind of just there for length. It didn't really help. And Anthony Edwards just tired himself out on offense to be able to play defensively. But I do expect him to fix that this year, is that he doesn't tire himself out so much. So, but Jaden McDaniels, I want to put that out there. Early predictions for being in the running for Defensive Player of the Year.
Sounds good to me. I mean, all right. Well, that's interesting. I mean, one last thing with Minnesota. I do believe they're going to be really good again this year. They're gonna probably do what they did last year. They're going to have a really good regular season, and it's really going to come down to matchups in the postseason. And we'll see if Cat and Gobert can step it up when they need to, because I don't expect them not to. So
that's
and
fair.
If Jaden is the Defensive Player of the Year candidate, that's even better. And like I said, Connor's just getting older. I mean, to me, he revived his career in Minnesota, if anything.
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
We'll see. Anyway, let's move on to the next team in the Northwest, the Oklahoma City Thunder. Please.
Dang, is he not paying attention? Eye in the sky.
Javon's like, damn, hold on. I'm here.
All righty. So the OKC Thunder. Again, this is what my projected starting five is. I got Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, point guard, Lou Dort, shooting guard, Jalen Williams, or J-Dub as he likes to be called, small forward. Chet Holmgren, a power forward, Isaiah Hartenstein, the new $1 million man, or whatever the fuck. He got paid a lot in that center. And then I still love you, I heard.
I don't. Fuck you. You're enemy now.
I'm just scoring a little bit. And then, of course, there's the bench made up of Alex Caruso, a new acquisition, Cason Wallace, Isaiah Joe, Aaron Wiggins, Jalen Williams, guys like that. Key loss, obviously, it was basically Josh Giddey.
3 years, 87 mil.
Josh Giddey was their biggest
left New York
loss
too.
At best.
Shut up.
I mean, 3 years, 87 million. You not leaving? All right.
No loyalty.
Yeah, okay. If I offered you 3 years, 87 million to move to Wisconsin tomorrow, you would be out.
Not if Brunson offered me relatively around the same thing.
Did they offer relatively around the same?
It wasn't relatively. No, it wasn't.
Yeah, no. Remember, he came out and said it didn't come down to that. It came down to it did come down to money. But he was saying he would have stayed in New York, but he had a chance to go make more money and on a contender.
And yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah. It was just better here. It was just better on all fronts. It was getting paid more and still had a chance to contend.
They offered him $11 million less per year. I'm out. I'm sorry.
11. Bro, come on. We are not about to act like you can't still rock with 11 million less. Yeah. Come on.
You know how much more rocking I can do with 11 million more? What you
no loyalty, man. That's crazy.
I'm not sure how crazy. Anyway, obviously
taxes is a motherfucker up in New York.
I'm sure taxes are much better in Oklahoma. Ain't shit in Oklahoma.
That's for sure.
That is for sure. Yeah, that is true.
But yeah, Isaiah Hartenstein, after all that, is one of their newest acquisitions. And Alex Caruso they traded for. But they traded Josh Giddey to get. Interesting.
I forgot about that trade. This was almost news to me again.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you, Didge. How you were offended on the last slide, I was very offended that Josh Giddey was a key loss. I almost forgot he was in the league for a second. So I looked at this. I'm like, he was. And look, there were times where they were playing 4-on-5, right? So, but I will keep this very short. This team makes that leap. I think this is the team that comes out of the West. I think a lot of their issues were their team was nothing but children, right? So I think now they've gotten a taste of it. They've increased their defensive integrity, which I thought they had a lot of. It was the offense I thought at times they were shaky going down the stretch. You bring in Isaiah Hartenstein. I think he frees up Chet, right? I think Chet's biggest issue was that was a lot of banging you were asking Chet to do. It gets a lot of fives. He's like,
give me a couple years.
That was a lot, yo.
There was a lot of defense you were asking that man. You know what? Fuck it. A lot of banging that man had to go through. That I kind of felt as though he didn't have his NBA body, right? And it just takes years to get that. It's not something that just happens overnight. It takes a couple years. For some, it takes 1. For some, it takes 3. So I think it was just best to put him in a position where he's just more comfortable. And now, look, maybe OKC does the one thing the Knicks never were interested in doing, and that was asking Isaiah to shoot. So if you do that, you can even open up the court for this team a lot more. So it's going to be very interesting to see. And I love that Caruso move. That's a sneaky move. That's a sneaky motherfucker, man. Defensively, very sneaky. Very sneaky, that guy.
I always wanted Alex Caruso. So
I did too.
That they got 2 of my guys. Yeah,
they did. But I'm very happy for this team. And look, this team is one of the best success stories, right? They lost Durant, lost Westbrook, lost Harden, lost Ibaka. It seemed like they were going to be like Sixers of the West, right? Where they just sit on all those picks and do nothing. But they just drafted well. So they didn't need to spend their picks on anything, right? So think about this. This is a team that could be top 5 in the West and still has draft capital. They could at any point go make a big splash and improve this roster even more. So this is definitely a team to be feared, and I believe this team will be the team to come out of the West. So hats off to them.
They have great management. They just make good trades, and they acquired assets for all the time.
Yeah.
Paul George turns into Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in picks. You know what I mean? It's insane. Yeah. It drafted well. Lou Dort, Jalen. I don't even know if Lou Dort was drafted, but Jalen Williams. Lou
Dort, he was drafted by them.
Lou Dort was a second rounder.
Let me double check. I just
I
had
don't
it
remember
up.
off the top of my head. I'm like, I forget when I remember when he started playing. I'm like, I don't even remember him. Like, where he popped up in the start, like in the lineup. I was like, interesting. He's so small, but he's such a strong guy. You know what I mean? But they love playing like 11 dudes. They'll literally just use the whole bench at possible. Like Casey Wallace was a big part of that bench. Isaiah Joker shooter. Aaron Wiggins is solid. The other Jay Wills, they call him. That's how they separate. There's 2 Jalen Williams on this team, spelled slightly different as you can see. But Jalen, the starter, is J Dub. Jalen, the bench player, is J Will. That's how they differentiate the two.
He Canadian too? I didn't know that.
Yeah,
he was undrafted. I'm sorry, he did not get drafted by them. He just signed with them right after.
Yeah, I mean that's a hell of a pick. The fact he's a starter. I mean, they undrafted the guy. That's fucking great. But look at that. It just shows more of good management for OKC. Mm-hmm. The only issue I have with OKC is I'm fucking tired of this logo. They need to upgrade this damn. They have the boringest fucking jerseys. They're just the most plainest, Janus things. And
I mean, they still have the NBA 2K special for their uniforms. I get it.
Yeah. They've always been kind of vanilla. I need them to finally upgrade one of these days. I think they're there finally. And I think they held back from using any type of lightning fixtures because at the time, Golden State still used that old logo that had the lightning bolt. Remember?
Yeah, fair.
So they kind of avoided it. So, but now they can go use it. You're called the Thunder. I mean, look like you instead of the sun, give us thunder clouds or something. I don't know, something that makes more sense. Anyway, whatever. I do like their lineup. I agree. They're probably the best coming out of the West. They just got better by adding Isaiah Hartenstein and Alex Caruso to that already good team. Fucking insane. So yeah, there's not much to say. They're just they're good coached, good managed, and well played. And Shea's a stud. So there you go.
It's tough for me to say any team is coming out of the West, so I'm not gonna go that far.
Really?
I think the West. I think the West is too close.
It's good. It's amazing.
I think it's too close on paper. I do think experience needs to be counted more. And this team, right? Let's just say on paper, right? On paper, we know where OKC finished last year.
Yeah.
They got better. You know what I'm saying? They got better. So I'm like, I don't see them taking a step back. I see them taking that step, thrusting their way forward. So that's the only reason I say
honest, that. And I wanted to bring up their odds too, and I think the odds agree with me. I don't know if I can put them over the last 2 teams we talked to. I don't know. They're all close. They're all very. That's why there's a reason why they're all were fighting for first going into the end of the last season.
Mm-hmm.
And granted, I think Denver of the 3, on paper, Denver of the 3 is probably the weakest. On paper, I don't know if they're stronger than Minnesota.
That's tough because you have the MVP and your team didn't drastically change, right? So it's like you should be viewed as better than Minnesota. Like, forget what your records were. You should be viewed as better than Minnesota. You know? Well, and if you're not, it's because maybe the tides are turning. Maybe that MVP status that Jokic was just clinging on to for the last 4 years, maybe that might be what's his
there
name
are a lot
now?
of people who said that Shea should have been MVP last year. I was one of them.
I was not one of them. I almost lied. I had someone in New York as my MVP, but out of the 2 that you're saying,
of course you did.
It was Shea.
If we're going that, I had someone in Milwaukee as my MVP last year.
I just didn't want to lie. I didn't want to lie and say I had Shea. But if you're saying I had Shea and Jokic, yes.
Yeah,
Shea,
out of the 3 who were the MVP finalists, yeah, I had Shea winning it. And but like I said, I think on paper, and I'm not even saying 100% that on paper they're worse than Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's I don't know. Because if you're talking...
What's your Minnesota and Denver? Who ended with the better record? I forget.
Minnesota was 3 seed, right?
Yeah, I think Denver was 2nd and OKC was 1st.
Minnesota was 3, Denver was 2.
Okay.
OKC was 4, Mavericks was 4. OKC was 1st, Mavericks was 4th.
Okay. And to me, who made a bigger jump this offseason, Minnesota or Denver?
That's what I'm saying. I think Denver's the third for sure. That's the one I can agree. I think Denver's the third. Of these two, I don't know if I can say who got better.
Okay, so then let's make this a lot easier then, Didge, because I don't disagree with you, right? Let's make this a lot easier. Who do you trust more? Anthony Edwards, Shai Gilgeous, or Jokic?
Anthony Edwards. Out of those.
Okay.
Well, actually, Jokic is the one I trust the most out of the three. But again, Denver as a team, I think, is the worst because I think they lost more than any of these other teams did.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So
for sure.
Denver, I got as third of these three. Now it comes down to who do I trust more, Shai or Ant?
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna say Ant, and I think sort of last year kind of proved. I granted they both lost to the same team.
Mm-hmm.
One went 6. They both no. One went 7, right? Because finals.
OKC went 7. OKC went 7.
OKC went 6. They lost 4. They lost 4 too. I remember that.
Really?
I thought Western Conference Finals went 7.
I don't remember.
I felt like that went 6. I could be wrong.
They could have both went 6.
Be very clear.
I could
be very wrong.
Let me look.
I'm not gonna lie. I was stressing a lot during that playoff, so like, I don't.
That's very true.
I can't tell you how. Like there was a point where I kind of was only focused on one.
Let me look real quick. So OKC, they lost in.
Well, I'm gonna be honest with you. As much as I was watching the Knicks, I was keeping an eye on Ant because anyone that humbles Kevin Durant, I'm a fan of. So. I was very much keeping my eye on Ant while I
wasn't keeping track how many games. Is all I'm saying.
Oh yeah.
So they OKC theirs went 6. OKC they lost in 6. Mm-hmm. Western Conference Finals. Ooh, or even worse, that was in 5.
Oh wow. The Western Conference Finals.
Who's that? Dallas versus
Minnesota.
Oh. Yeah, yikes. Yeah, I don't know, but they imploded. Yeah, it was pretty bad.
It was inexperience. It came down to just Anthony Edwards versus. That's what it was. It was a 20v1. So I don't put that on the shoulders of Anthony Edwards. That was a lot.
No, not at all.
To do. But I also don't put that on Shai. Again, I think that was both Shai and Anthony Edwards coming out party. So if you're telling me, Didge, that you have it between Shai and Ant, I won't argue you down on who comes out of those two.
Right.
But if you're telling me it's between Denver and Minnesota, that's where I disagree. I think it's between OKC and Minnesota coming out of the West, and I just prefer OKC.
No. Like I said, I think Denver is the clear third. Denver's the clear third. Okay. I'm not gonna act like I can count Denver out though, because those playoffs could come and Jokic could fucking go 30, 10, and 12 again.
What will make Denver dangerous in the playoffs, right, is if they're given another first-round bye. If those motherfuckers luck into the Lakers again, then it's like, yeah, they'll be healthy. They won't be tired, right? They won't exert any energy. It'll just be a cakewalk through that, right?
Didn't that Lakers Nuggets series go 6?
Did it?
Let me look.
If it went 6, I don't want to hear Michael Jordan over LeBron anymore. Because I swear to God, LeBron has to be the GOAT. To take that team 6? Yeah, man. Hell yeah. I mean, Anthony Davis did hold his own. But...
It went 5.
Okay, all right. Don't scare me like that, Didge.
Remember that game 5 was the last minute win. A couple of those were the last second wins.
4 and 5 were Murray walk-offs. Which, to me, I kept asking the question, how do you let him catch the ball on the inbound if he just did this the last game? Stop letting Murray send y'all home, man. It's crazy.
It was one of those things where, like, the Nuggets. Oh, yeah, the Nuggets.
Yeah, the Nuggets.
I don't know we're talking about the Nuggets. It's just they have their name, their number. It's one of those things.
Yeah.
It's solid. I don't know. Like you said, why give it's one of those weird things. Like, how do you explain it? They just don't play them. They're just terrible against that team.
Positioning will matter. I will say that. To Didge's point, positioning will matter in the West. Big time. Sure. Because if you're OKC, you don't want Minnesota round 2. If you're Minnesota, you don't want OKC round 2. Or if you're both teams, you don't want Denver round 2, right? Or maybe you do, but maybe you don't.
I think you want to see Denver Western Conference Finals.
Yeah,
because I think those first 2 rounds,
Beat them
if
up.
everything, they'll be a little bit more healthy as you can become by the time playoffs comes, but you're a little bit more. And like you said earlier, they're war torn. They've been through this. That they're the old grizzled veterans who are like, yeah, we done did this many a moon, and they coming through. Got a scar all through the eye and stuff, but he got a hell of a shot. Like,
well,
no, that's a good point. But like I said, Didge, I think we agree. You just see Minnesota, I see OKC, and I think that's who it'll come down to. I think that's who it'll come down to.
Yeah, so. Well, these are the 3 best teams so far. We're going into the bottom of the Northwest next. In Portland, Portland Trailblazers are the next team.
I got no words. Sell. Go move to what's the where do you keep move to Seattle? There you go. Move to Seattle. Your time's up, dogs.
No need to move. We're gonna get Seattle separately, hopefully one day soon. But Portland, the Portland Trailblazers, are going through some tough times. They lost their star player last year, Dame Lillard. Now they are moved on to the Scoot Henderson era, where he barely started. I think he started half of those games. It was between him and Malcolm Brogdon a lot of last year. Anyway, but my projected starters for Portland are Scoot Henderson, Anthony Simons, then Denny Avdia, Jeremy Grant, and DeAndre Ayton. The bench made up of Shadon Sharp, Donovan Klingman, the rookie they drafted. I think he was a lottery pick, right? Top 10.
It's the Trailblazers. I'm sure it was.
100%, yeah.
Jabari Walker, Tamani Kamara, Baptiste Thibault, a lot of names. And then, of course, their key loss was the vet Malcolm Brogdon, who did hold it down for them until after trade deadline. He just got hurt and never played again. But I think the rest of the season,
yeah,
I was like, all right. Well, he's like, fuck it, just heal. And then, of course, key addition, they traded for Denny Avdia and they drafted Donovan Klingman. Could be really good for them in the future. But at the moment, they still have Ayton, so he'll be playing behind him. Portland. I don't know. It'll be Scoot's second year. I look forward to seeing if he evolves because he didn't have. I'm not saying it was a bad rookie year, but he didn't have the rookie year I was expecting for a guy that was number 2 I think last year in the draft. Mm-hmm. I was expecting more out of him, so hopefully he has a glow up in his second year. Simons is a baller. Simons is a really good player, honestly. Simons is like a diamond in the rough for this team. I wouldn't be surprised if he's trade bait. Like they just use it to get more assets.
You think Simons is trade bait?
100%. So. We've been saying that for like the last year and a half.
Like if you're really trying to gain more assets and you're trying to start real fresh and young, Simons you could definitely and then you can move Sharp back into the starting lineup. You know what I mean?
Right.
Interesting.
That's what I think you could, and you can get assets. Simons is good. So there's definitely a team out there that can use Anthony Simons. That's all.
I think we got 2 different trade baits.
Oh, okay, all right. I mean, I'm not done yet.
When did Joel finish?
Oh, got you.
Denny Avdia, they just got. I thought it was a good acquisition. I thought Denny had a really good season last year in Washington. Washington didn't. Jeremy Grant is an oddity. To me, he's a guy that was a good role player that wanted to be a star, and finally got a chance to be that guy. And he does play. I mean, he's pretty good. He defends well, and he can score. He's not a good rebounder, but it's one of those things where he's just not. He's good, but how good I don't know. And they paid him a lot. Obviously, they needed to spend the money, so they paid him. But again, a good player. Possible trade bait as well. And then you got DeAndre Ayton, who it looked like it could have been a renewal for him being in Portland, starting over. And that's another guy I wouldn't be surprised if he got traded. So it's like there's a lot of guys here where I don't know if it's their time. I don't know if they'll end their careers in Portland. Is all I'm saying. So, what do you guys think?
DeAndre Ayton gone by the end of the calendar year.
There you go.
I think he got them bags packed. He is ready. All he needs to know is where his new home is. That's my biggest trade. That's the only thing I care about hearing from the Trailblazers. When is DeAndre Ayton leaving and where is he going? Because I think that's all they got going for them this year. I think you are completely right. They are just selling. Scoop might be the only person like other projected starters right now who's there come. I'll be generous. Come next season, like they might all be gone. But I think DeAndre Ayton, like the year's gonna start. Obviously, somebody's gonna get off to the start that they didn't want, that had high hopes, and DeAndre Ayton is still a 17-11 person. Like this man, yes, this was a down year considered to what he was doing in Phoenix, but in Phoenix it's because he was doing 20-12.
Right.
20-12 to 17-11 is not that much of a difference. And somebody's going to see that and be like, yeah, I want that. So I really think by, like I said, January 1st, this man is somewhere else.
I mean, I'll give you Jericho Sims for DeAndre Ayton.
All right, not too much.
Straight up, dog.
Not too
Straight
much.
up.
I knew you were going to come in with some bullshit.
I won't lie to you. I think they're the Detroit Pistons of the West. So I have no thoughts about this team outside of their immense talent that they don't know what to do with. So I don't really know what to tell you, right? Like, I don't know. I think they both have really good head coaches that maybe are better off with veterans than they are with children. I think that's probably their biggest issue. I think you need a budding college coach that wants the challenge of being able to turn around the organization. And I think once you get that, because to me, I don't see what's stopping Portland from becoming what OKC is, right? I think they have great talent. It just seems they don't know what to do with it. And because they don't, the players are becoming uninterested. Like Jeremy Grant is not a bad player. DeAndre Ayton is not a bad player. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, you don't have a bad starting five. You don't. Yeah. But it comes down to you not knowing what to do with it. And until they figure that out, I have no thoughts for this team outside of, well, then, yeah, like Joel said, if you're not going to do anything to fix this team, whether it's by head coach or a scheme or something, start selling. Like, just start selling. Who cares, right? At this point, you're not really doing anything else. You're not winning or at least competitive enough. So
if they don't start, if that's not already the plan internally, like we know we're gonna suck, right? Then Chauncey will probably survive. But if not, if they really think they could do something, then he might lose his job. It's gonna happen soon.
I think Chauncey should lose his job because I think he has the same problem that what's his name has in Detroit. I think it's really hard to coach these young kids nowadays, right? I think it's very hard. I think you need the guy that these kids can kind of grow with. And I don't think Chauncey or Monty are those guys. I think Monty or Chauncey are really good for a budding.
Monty got fired.
Yeah.
So, that's right. Monty did get fired. That's right. I'm sorry. I forgot.
It's JB's there now, former Cavs.
Oh, bigger staff, right?
Yeah.
I like JB. No, I like JB there because I thought JB was starting to help turn things around in
Cleveland.
Yeah. I think Cleveland's biggest problem was you had guys that weren't willing to make that next step, and since he's left, those same guys have not made that next step outside of Donovan Mitchell.
I mean,
right?
The season hasn't started. We don't know yet.
Well, no. I'm saying as of now because I wasn't impressed with what that team did last year. So I'm like, I just don't see anyone.
Yeah, but he was still there last year. That's what I'm saying. Like,
no, I know, but I'm saying player wise, I don't think a coach. I don't think a coach should impact it. Well, I mean, yes, they do, but I didn't see Garland. Like, think about it. Who was the head coach when Garland went to the All-Star game? Albeit he was gifted at the All-Star game, but who was the head coach when he went to the All-Star game?
Wasn't it JB? I don't know.
I thought it was. That's what I'm saying. So I'm like, I don't think JB got worse coaching. I think maybe that was a one-time thing maybe for Garland. Yeah. And now we're maybe seeing the real Garland as opposed to that year. So to me, I think this is all about, do you have a group of players? There are 3 teams I think have immense talent that could easily be a playoff team, but I would not be shocked if they were a lottery team. That's Portland, that's the Hornets, and that's the Pistons. I think all 3 of those teams have immense talent. What are they going to do with it is the problem. So that's where I stand with Portland.
They're going to farm them out to the rest of the good teams.
Apparently.
They're farm teams.
Apparently. But yeah, to me, that's what's just so frustrating about the Portland Trailblazers is they lost Dame, they lost CJ, right? They only had a small time to mourn before they started getting pieces that should have made that team better than what they were. And they're not. And that, I think, is a staffing issue, not a player issue.
You're not wrong. I mean, like you said, that starting five looks good. On paper, it's a good starting five. You know what I mean? It's not bad. And it is what it is. They're going to probably end up sucking, and it's probably for the best.
Right.
It really is. It sucks to say, and no one wants to go in sucking. But
no.
Overall, it probably is for the best. And let the guys show out as best they can and trade high as best as they could, you know, and go from there, you know.
Yep.
Anyway, Portland, it was nice talking to you. Anyway, next to the other bottom feeder, no, I'm kidding. In the Northwest, the Utah Jazz, the home of the most, how do I say it? Stingiest? Would stingy be a good word for him?
Yeah. Or asshole. I like that. I use that a lot.
Danny Ainge, I don't know. He's one of those guys where he's gonna try to buy high. He's one of those guys, and he's a pain in the ass. That's what it is.
I think Danny Ainge is the poor man's Jerry Jones. I think he gets in his own team's way all the time. Every single time.
Bad comparison.
He just doesn't have the mouth that Jerry does. But man, does he know how to get in his own team's way. Man, does he know how.
Utah, please.
Trayvon. There we go. Thank you. There we go.
There you go. The Jays. Anyway. This is my projected starters. This can change drastically by the time we start the season, but this is more or less how it was playing out for a lot of the season. There was a lot of switching up towards the end of the season because they were trying to rest people, and some people got Lowry was hurt here and there, and I don't know. It was very hard. They were forced John Collins in and out of that lineup. They wanted to start Kessler, then they didn't. I don't know. It was a lot of back and forth. Anyway, as of right now, this is how I see it. Things could change. Keontae George at point guard, Colin Sexton at shooting guard, Larry Markkinen at small forward, Taylor Hendricks at power forward, and John Collins at center. The bench, I got Jordan Clarkson, Walker Kessler, the rookie Cody Williams, who I like, Bryce Sensabaugh, and the rookie Isaiah Collier. We'll see. Don't know much about him. And you got key losses. Chris Dunn by that rotation last year. Taylor and Tucker started as a part of the rotation and got completely kicked out of it. So they're not losing any sleep over that loss. Then you have and there were some other losses, but not as important. Then you have key additions. Obviously, the rookie Cody Williams. I think he was a lottery pick. I could be wrong.
Cody Williams, he was 10th.
So yeah, he was a lottery pick then. Yeah, I know. I've heard good things this season, and I think he's that's Jalen Williams' brother, right? From OKC.
Yeah.
There you go. So I know it runs in the family. And Isaiah Collier, Kyle Filipowski, the Duke guy, Patty Mills and Svi were honestly those were just they needed to pay people signings. It's not that as you can see, I don't even have them, but I didn't even mention them on the bench because I don't know if they're actually going to play or not. Like I really don't. So, but I know they got paid to just bodies again, more bodies. But as of right now, this is how I see it. What do you guys think about the Utah Jazz? Very weird team. So it's hard to read.
Go ahead, Didge.
So you know how there's those teams where you're just like, damn, I forgot that they still play. That's the Jazz to me. They are very much the how do you put it? Like you know how like the Thursday night games not always like granted I get Thursday night game for NFL is great right now, but you know Thursday nights you're like, all right, we just had to throw a team on. That's what the Jazz are whenever I see them play. I don't really have much about them. I am interested to see what Colin Sexton will do. I do like him as a player. I think he kind of got a raw deal getting out. Like, didn't he? Because he got traded out of.
He was hurt. Got traded out of Cleveland.
Yeah.
For Donovan Mitchell.
Right.
And landed in Utah. And then it was kind of like he ended up starting, obviously.
Right.
And it was really like between him and George and Clarkson, like rotating. And like I said, it's like it was a lot of trial. I think it was a lot of trial and error. Is what last year was, because I think the coach is good. What's his name? Fuck.
Will Hardy.
Will Hardy. I do believe he's a good coach. It's just a matter of, I swear, midseason felt like they just stopped caring and just started experimenting. That's what it felt like. They tried in the beginning, like in the middle, like beginning to middle, and by the midseason, by like trade deadline ish, they're like, we're just gonna experiment and see who we're gonna keep, and they just kind of shut it down. That's what it felt like.
I'm telling you, they're like the window dressing of the NBA. They're the stuff that you kind of look at and you're like, oh man, this store has this basketball's back because you Jazz are playing.
You never heard of the Jazz. DJV, they weren't always in Utah. They were in New Orleans many moons ago.
Hence the Jazz name.
Has the Jazz name, and obviously it didn't fit going to Utah, but they didn't change it, so fuck it.
Right. But no, yeah, I like I said, I like Colin Sexton. I thought he was a phenomenal player back ever since he was back at Alabama. So, granted, I don't really care that the Cavs didn't do well with him. You know, fuck the Cavs. But you know, as a player, you know, I did want to see him do his best. So if I'm rooting for anything this year from the Jazz, and there's not a lot, I'm hoping that he does well.
Colin Sexton.
Yeah.
I feel you. Juwaan.
I have no words other than free my homie Walker Kessler to the New York Knicks.
Oh my God.
You know what it is? You know what I'm saying? Let my guy come home. You know, it's not his home, but it should be. No. All jokes aside, I slightly, well, not slightly. I disagree with Didge. I think if you can get the right person at the helm, I think this team can be competitive for that 8th spot. I really do. I think they have the talent. Lauri Markkanen can ball. Jordan's always been reliable coming off the bench. Colin Sexton, I think, is very underrated defensively. That motherfucker is very gritty.
His issue is he can't stay healthy.
Right.
The year before, he was like, I think he averaged like 25.
Mm-hmm.
I could be high.
But remember, the offense is not what I think people are overlooking. It's the defense.
Oh no,
I think he is
even just in general. I feel like a lot of people are looking at his injury years.
Yeah,
I'm sure he's in like the mid-teens now.
Yeah,
but when the man was healthy,
that man can ball. Yeah, the only weak point of this team is John Collins. John Collins is someone that I think forgot how to play basketball and then never was interested in relearning. So Collins is, I think, their weakest link.
That's a small center too.
That's a very small, especially with putting Walker Kessler on your bench and not starting him. I think is wild.
I was beyond confused.
I know. Knowing you, I know you wanted to put Kessler at that 5. I know you did.
Very frustrated. I was like, "What are you doing?" Like John Collins started the year actually pretty good. I remember because we played fantasy,
right?
And I had John Collins on my team, and he was pretty good for at least most of the year. Again, once the end of the year came around, it was like, why bother? But in the beginning, he was actually producing, and that's when they started tinkering, and they eventually sat Walker Kessler, and then they started the rookie at the time. Taylor Hendricks was the rookie last year. He was fine, but I don't know. They put him in the starting lineup, but like I said, they started to experiment towards the end, and that's when they started. We're going to play the rookie. Fuck it, Walker, you sit down, and then they would rotate that out in and out. And they had a whole bunch of weird things going on. So if you look at the stats here, Lauri Markkanen led the team in scoring, 23 points a game, makes sense. Average 23, 8, and 6, basically. That's pretty good.
That's great. For that guy, it's really good.
Pretty good. Colin Sexton was second in scoring at 18.7 a game. He averaged 18, 5, and basically 2.5. And then Jordan Clarkson was obviously the third, but separated under 17 points, averaged 17, 3, 2.5. 17, 5, and 3. I'm sorry. So look, this team. It's hard to read them.
They had 30, 35 wins last year.
Mm-hmm.
I probably should have put their
35. I think was around where they were at. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me look. I think that's their ceiling again this year, though.
Yeah, they're probably around that. I mean, they're again. If they wanted to compete, I think they could. Like Juwaan said, they could probably fight for a play-in at the very least.
Yeah, they were 31-51. I'll give them 35 this year.
There you go.
I think 40 is not out of the realm of possibility.
If they care. The problem is will they care.
Because here's the problem, Didge. Here's the biggest problem, right? Let's say I were to agree with you, right? Everything you said about the Utah Jazz. They have an owner that refuses to sell. So if your owner doesn't sell your valuable pieces so that you can become better, because ain't nobody coming to Utah unless you paying them just absurd money. Even then, they probably take less. So my problem with Danny Ainge's, Didge, is in my heart, I have to give them a fighting chance for the play-in, because if not, your owner won't trade anybody. So it's like, where does that put you? You're not bad enough to be number one, right? As far as the lottery, and you're not good enough to be in the play-in. So where does that put you? It puts you in perpetual hell is the answer, right?
And some people are fine. Some teams are fine with that. Like,
yeah, the owner might be okay with that, but I'm like, if I'm Jordan Clarkson, I'm coming out to the media. I don't want to be here no more because they're doing that man dirty.
He might not be there anymore.
But Didge, here's the problem: we don't know that because the owner he makes people pay absurd amount for players that he knows he should just trade for a second round, right?
Yeah,
he goes,
fair.
Think about it. Walker Kessler, Didge, is somebody that most people that actually watch basketball probably have no idea about. This man was like, I want a first for him. A first? Did Walker Kessler, did he make the All-Star team and I missed it? Was he Defensive Player of the Year and I missed it?
I think the problem with saying that they could be a play-in team is, okay, yes, Lakers probably aren't going to be a play-in team again this year. Golden State probably isn't. Mm-hmm. But Houston might. Houston was like, 3-4 games out last year?
Well, hold on, time out.
Memphis is back. Like,
time out. Remember what I said, though, Didge? I said I think they could be competitive enough to be in the running for the 8th seed. Not that they secure it, but at least in the running.
I think they were 12 last year.
Mm-hmm.
Their ceiling is sure. So maybe they get 11 this year. Sure, that's competitive enough to get to the play-in.
I'm just saying,
get in that conversation.
I'm saying talent-wise, they could. Now, what they actually play to, only Lord knows. But again,
Lord knows.
You know what it is, Didge? You know what? I'll admit this. Maybe it's just wishful thinking on my part, because I don't love that these guys have to keep going through this perpetual hell of, we're not good enough to make the play-in. We're not bad enough to fully rebuild.
Poverty franchises. You can only have the greatness with you got to have the poverty franchises.
I mean, but see, I would accept that if teams were in poverty because they're just in poverty. This is a team that's where they are because the owner chooses for them to be exactly where they are.
You can't tell me. And granted, we're only talking Northwest, but you can't tell me San Antonio is going to have 23 wins again. You can't tell me. No.
You
can't tell me Memphis is going to have 27 wins again.
No, of course not. Of course not. Look. You say that till one of these Republicans puts out a new gun and John Morant goes happy. You know what I'm saying? So you say that.
But on paper, like I said, let's say of the 10 because we can pretty much assume the top 6 of the West last year are going to be back in some form or fashion.
Mm-hmm.
So then now we're talking about the 4 play-in teams: the Lakers, the Pelicans, the Kings, and the Warriors.
Right, and I think they all got better. Right.
You think all 4 of them got better?
I think Pelicans got better getting DeJounte Murray.
Okay.
I think what was the other team? You said Memphis?
No, so of the 4 play-in teams, it was Lakers, Pelicans, Kings, and Warriors.
Oh, Warriors! I think Steph is on a mission coming back from. If Steph can come back from the Olympics the way Melo did when he first went out there and got that gold, I think they'll be. I think they'll be better. Lakers with LeBron, you always have a fighting chance to either be first in the West or last, right?
Of course.
But in it for sure. In it for sure. And the Kings got DeMar DeRozan. Yeah, so I think they got better. You know, so
of those 4 teams, the ones I was going to say were the question marks were Lakers and Warriors.
Right.
But again, let's say if we take those 2 out, remember how the Rockets ended the year last year?
Yeah, they started catching fire.
So you got to think that they're going to take the next step.
But Didge, hold on now. If we're being fair, the Rockets have just as much of a right to be exactly what you think Utah will be. All right.
Rockets were 41-41 last year.
And they capped at 31?
Yeah, they capped at 31.
Utah?
So that's a full 10 games.
They could get those 10. I don't
know if they, because again, we haven't gotten to, like we said, we already said it earlier. Memphis isn't going to be 27 wins again.
Right.
So that's taking
hurt again. Then you have to look into that's internal.
If somebody gets hurt again, then it's obviously everything's off the wall.
Well, time out. I do think we got to pay close attention to that, Didge, because remember, they're now becoming injury prone with 2 of their starters in Desmond Bane and in Jaren Jackson Jr. Right? So I do think that is something to keep in. You said what, Joel?
John Morant was the one that was out last year.
No. I'm saying Desmond Bane was having injury problems. John Morant, yes, but we know what usually keeps John Morant out.
A freak, yeah.
It was Ja, it was Marcus Smart, but Desmond Bane, almost everybody. Jaren Jackson technically was one of the healthier ones last year.
By default, right?
I guess at their best. No, I was just gonna say at their best, Memphis ain't doing that again. We're liable to think that Wemby's going to step up for them. So then it just becomes.
I mean, Chris Paul has taken every team he's been on to the playoffs, so it's hard to think that he couldn't do it again.
So then, at that point, where is Memphis's? Where's their ceiling? Like that's already.
We're not there yet. We're in the Northwest. Let's like.
We are talking a lot about the damn Utah Jazz.
Yeah. I'm just saying, yes. We exploded to the rest of the Western Conference in comparison to the lowly Utah Jazz.
Because you guys are giving the Jazz too much hope. I had to bring you guys back down to earth.
I'm just saying. I think if they tried,
Juwaan was saying they going to the playoffs and shit. I don't know. We got
I did not say that. I said I think they're competitive enough, or could be, to be in that conversation for.
Juwaan said they his finals pick now. Like we got off the rails. I had to bring things back.
If Markkanen can keep up his play, yeah, man, I got them coming out the West, dog, for sure. For sure. NCAA West. I got them coming right out of there. I got them coming right out of there.
They might not even come out of that.
I know this for sure. Utah should have a new color scheme come next year, a new logo and all that. They're rebranding again.
Are they?
They're bringing back the purple and the mountain colors. Remember?
Well, yeah, you know how that goes, Didge. When teams are this bad, they give you colorful jerseys to make you stop looking at how bad they are.
I mean,
so yeah,
remember when the Nuggets and the Cavs both won 17 games right before Melo and LeBron got there? Those new jerseys were crazy.
Yikes!
Oh man, that's too funny. Poor Utah. All right, we're done with you, Utah. Just
fun while it lasted.
Try to exist.
Was it? They're another team that's boring to watch.
I mean, again, it depends on they have I like Keontae George, I like Concept and Markkanen.
I love Lauri Markkanen. Yeah, I love Markkanen. I love Clarkson. I love Kessler. So
yeah, they have Cody Williams. I think he's good. That's a rookie with potential right there. So it's one of those things where
I think Kyle Filipowski is going to be their best rookie. As much as I hate to say it, to big up a Duke friend,
he has to get past. That's the thing. When is he? That means he's going to play over Walker Kessler and John Collins. Which is possible. I'm not going to say it's not.
Very possible. I don't think they respect Walker Kessler at all.
They probably don't. I mean, at that point, why didn't you just trade him? I didn't understand. Filipowski has a chance to do something. They have 1,000 centers, it feels like, on this team.
It does.
Wait, what's his last name?
Filipowski.
Yo, I ain't going to tell you how many. I must be tired. I swear to God, I thought you kept saying Mike Mazowski.
Oh my god! All right, we gotta wrap this up.
Monsters, that's a crazy ass last name. All right, I'm sorry. Go ahead. So he has a potential to be in that starting five over Collins. I very much see that.
I don't know. We'll see because it is summer league. He looked okay, but again, you gotta they're playing John Collins out of position at center. Then you have Walker Kessler, a guy who was
6'9" center is crazy.
It's in this league. It's been done more often than I even like.
But it's still crazy.
It is. I mean, Golden State does it and worse. So, I'm not. Size does matter. At least it does to me. But for most of the league, it's depending on the player. It really is. It
depends on the player, and it depends on what you're trying to do it for. If you're trying to do it for just pure offense, then clearly defense isn't what you're prioritizing. But if that's what you're starting your games with and finishing your games with, then you're just stupid.
I would not be surprised if this weird ass team decides Walker's back in. Fuck it. Man. We got to raise his stock so we can get that first. Because why am I giving you a first for a guy you benched? It makes zero sense. I don't know how you plan on getting a pick for a guy you don't obviously believe is a starter. I can't.
Right. You keep setting his value low, but then telling teams it costs a first round. But you don't even play him. So why would I give him a first? My plan is to put him on my bench. So why would I give you a first rounder for a guy you don't value and a guy I'm telling you I'm going to just put on my bench, right?
Right. It makes zero sense. Yeah, I don't understand.
I don't get the reverse psychology he's trying there.
Yeah, so. That's what I mean. This team is fucking day and age. Anyway, it's been a good show. That was the Northwest. It's very top heavy with the top three teams being Denver, Minnesota, OKC, which will all probably make the playoffs in some capacity. So Northwest is a strong division, and they feed off these Portland Trailblazers, Utah Jazz teams, at least for now and possibly the foreseeable future, till obviously one of these teams ages out. Denver. Right. This is bound to happen. But as of right now, this was the Northwest. We'll be back here next week with the Pacific Division. I have a special guest for that one. But we'll be going down to the West Coast, and we'll be going over the Warriors, Lakers, Clippers, Suns, and Kings. Those teams, so should be fun. Well, we should have a good time with that, and see you guys next week.
Yep. Till then, peace.
Yay, sports.